Welcome to the August 21st, 2018 regular selectmen's meeting. Is all the selectmen here except for Selectman Ganea, who is on vacation, lucky guy. Is town manager, town clerk, various other town employees, and the most people I've seen in an audience in a long time. Thank you for coming.
Give yourself an applause, would appreciate it.
Is please stand with me and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next order of business is the approval of our meeting minutes from August 7th, 2018. There were only 3 selectmen at that meeting, and Ed was one of them, and he's gone, so we're going to table that for now. That brings us to the first public comment. First public comment is 15 minutes long. If you have a comment, please step to the podium, state your name, where you live, and address the chair. Go right ahead, Hokie. You want to get out of here, I know.
I'm Hokie from the Borough Transfer Station. This is our last announcements on the Hazardous Waste Day, which is this Saturday, August 25th, from 9 to 1. Robert Parrish will be down there, and he'll have signs available so they can find out where it's at. So,
Can you tell them where the location is for
location is on Route 4 by Mick's Garage at the South Berwick maintenance facility, where they work on the school buses.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Hokie.
Have a good night. You too.
Any other public comment? I'm sure there'll be comments later, but we have another place for that too. Brings us to a public hearing. We have a public hearing tonight presented by Port City Architect about the proposed new fire station and police station renovations. We will be doing using the screen here, and so we will move out of the way. At least I will. Everybody else seems to be. There's Andy. Step forward. Rebecca, can you turn those lights off?
So far, so good. So my name is Andy Highland. I'm principal at Port City Architecture in Portland, Maine. And our firm does a lot of police and fire stations throughout the state. We've done about, I think, probably about 20 of them in the last 5 years. And so Berwick is one that we're looking at right now. We've been working with the selectmen and the select board for probably almost a year, I think, taking a look at options. So we've been working on this for a while. We've looked at a number of sites. We've talked to both the police and the fire departments on what their needs are, and trying to not do anything terribly lavish, but just get them buildings that they really are usable for them, that are going to be usable for them for a long time period, the next 40 years, we hope, and that are going to meet the needs, 50 years, okay, and that are going to meet the needs. You know, firefighting's changing, and that are going to meet their needs in the future as well. So tonight we're going to present 2 options to the select board, and they're both involve a new fire station. It's really just the locations that we're taking a look at. One, the locations that we're looking at is Cemetery Road, right across from the cemetery. And the other location was looking at putting it on the Estherbrook school site right next to the police station. So we're going to kind of go over the pros and cons of those two proposals as we go through.
I got a question already. Am I just looking at the fire station? Or
Yes, this is just the fire station plan here. That's where, and that's going to stay the same, similar on either building or either site. It would be kind of similar. We might make some changes to it if it went to the Estherbrook, but it'll be relatively the same size and same functions. So with that, just looking at the fire station. I got my little light here. Front door entry in here, admin area, so the public would come in the front here. There's a training room for the firefighters. They do have to do quite a bit of training, keeping up with latest firefighting techniques and et cetera. This can also be used maybe as another town potential room. We've got it so that you could come in. There's a couple bathrooms. Secure the rest of the station and maybe use this room after hours if that worked out. Admin, the chiefs in here, just kind of a little string of offices. In the back here, a small fitness room. That's probably one of the leading causes of death in public safety personnel is heart attacks on the site. It's a really strenuous position, strenuous job. There's a lot of physical and emotional stress in it, so physical fitness is really important. The back room here is the day room where personnel kind of meet. You might have meals back there. This is where they park in the back. And what we're doing these days, and even with volunteer forces, we're seeing more and more paid. So we're looking at individual bunk rooms, just really very small rooms that people could use, individual bathrooms here, and then that gets through any kind of issues of if you have male personnel, female personnel, somebody snores at night, we've been moving to just a small room. So different people on different shifts might share them, but only one at a time, and a small group room if there was a big nor'easter or something like that. People wanted to be at the station. A mechanical in the back here. This is turnout gear, so people can come in, grab their gear. And then these are the apparatus bays and kind of apparatus bay machine shops and different breathing apparatus, different type, everything that the fire station needs. So we have 2 drive-through bays. That would be for any kind of larger equipment that you might have now, that you might have in the future, ladder trucks or whatever. We're designing these to accommodate any size piece of apparatus. A lot of towns get into you get into a financial pickle if your station doesn't have big enough doors, big enough bays. You got to buy specialized equipment that gets down through these bays. So it actually, in the long run, is better to have a 14 by 14 foot door. We think anything bigger than that, you wouldn't get down the road anyway. So, but this would accommodate the largest equipment possible. And finally, a training tower and a hose tower in the corner. I have my Vanna White over here. Next slide, thank you. Also in this proposal is, this is the existing police station, and we were just proposing a couple of modest improvements to the police station. Is really turning there's the old gym, I believe here, into a sally port. So this is where we're going to put a garage door on it and really turn it into an area that you can put cruisers in, keep them out of the weather. If you bring in somebody for booking, you bring them into the sally port, and then some renovations here for some holding cells and booking area. So the rest of this is pretty kind of much left the same. We take off that little connector that goes back to the other building on the Estabrook site, and that's kind of, in either proposal, that's the fire station's work. Okay. So this is looking at this is the footprint of the fire station that that I just showed you. And this is the cemetery and cemetery sites. So we looked at about 3 or 4 sites out there. This one has good eyesight or sight lines all the way up and down the road. It was owned, I think, by the cemetery board, and it's a good it was good land and very usable. So the idea would be apparatus could come in through and around and then exit out. And Cemetery Road's a good location for you to get you into pretty much any part of town quickly. The other thing I like is the neighbors aren't going to cause a fuss when the apparatus leave, and so it's good in that sense that it's not in the middle of a neighborhood. So, okay, next. Second option, so this is the existing Estherbrook site. That's the existing police station that we just talked about. The back building here is really would be slated for demolition. It's not really in a usable condition. So just taking a look at putting that same fire station plan that we just showed you on this site, it would probably look something like this. And that would be, you know, driving through to get to different parts of town. And the reason, so this is that little footpath that you might know that kind of goes through the wetlands. And so we'd like to widen that as an exit for the apparatus. Because you can get out on Logan Street, you can get to this side of the town, but they'll have a lot of trouble. There's a couple of bends right up in here that it's really tough to get fire trucks through that neighborhood. So if we put it on the Estherbrook site, we'd really need to kind of widen that path and get you out on this side. So that would get you to this side of town. Logan Street would get you to the other. And the public would come in the same way that you come to visit the police station, through the main entrance, and then we'd add a little bit of parking on this side. Okay. So next,
Can you
this
bring
is
that next picture back up?
the one that was just there.
Yes. So, that, the wing and the rest of the building are coming down.
Yeah, this
So-
piece here.
So, why aren't we moving the fire station closer so that they can have a corridor or something, so that there's a gym in the fire station, there's all sorts of stuff, they could both
To put it
duplicate
where the wing is here.
Yeah, when move that and push the fire station over somehow so that so both police and fire can use the gym, the conference room, or whatever. I don't know. Seems like,
Well, we can look at trying to maybe get it, well, the main reason that we've put it down on the lower field here is there's quite a drop on the hill right there. Which, you know, so the elevation difference from up on this wing here to down here was quite a bit.
Carve it out. You
we
can push
could-
one over. You could cut
Well, it might be quite, like I said, you got a big tarmac coming through. I'm not saying it's not
no,
possible.
I'm just trying to see how you
Yeah.
can use both and utilize both. That's all.
That's something, I mean, we could still look into on the site.
'Cause
This
it's
is
the
kind
correct
of
end
where,
the police station, right? I mean, the fire station. Isn't that the end where the gym is?
yeah, this is the new proposed kind of fire
Right,
station
the gym
entrance
is on
here.
that end of the
This one
conference
right
room
in
down.
here. Yeah. Well, this is the Sally Port right
Oh,
now.
we're talking about-
Yes, yeah, I'm sorry.
That's
The
a Sally
fitness
Port.
center's right in this area here. We did something similar to this at Gorham, and they're separated by a small courtyard, so if the police want to come over and use the fitness center, sorry, I feel like I get my back to everybody. Then they just walk across a small courtyard. So it's kind of a public safety compound, so they still share a fitness center and together, and share a training room in Gorham that's in the fire station. And they're still separated by just a small distance. So it's possible we could take a look at maybe trying to bring this a little bit closer. But we still need to kind of get drive-through apparatus and turning radiuses on the back.
And if I can
This way.
interject, for people that don't know, there's a big exposed ledge all across here and comes down through here. So it's a matter of determining where that ledge is how much you could dig into there.
There's plenty of free gravel. Blast it, and there's a.
But that's something, if this was the proposed route, that we could still take a look at seeing if we could improve on. But it'll still be kind of a similar size site, and probably a wash in the costs. Okay.
Town already owns that site.
What's that?
Town already owns that.
Yeah.
site.
Yes, the town owns this
How many
site.
acres are that?
Steve, do you know what the acreage of Estherbrook?
Well, all we know at this time is that with the Bateman Building, police station, all that property is around 11 acres.
11, okay.
So, just a rough estimate, we're looking at around 3 or 4 acres.
Okay, yeah, all right. 3 or 4 acres in here. Okay.
So, It looks like you've eliminated access to Route 9 by way of going by those apartments.
For apparatus, we've.
Excuse me, the people at home can't hear the question, so
Sorry.
the question was, is whether to eliminate the access to Route 9 School Street coming by the apartments in Bateman here. That was the question.
So one of the things that we try to do, if it's apparatus that are getting out, we really try to kind of keep them segregated from, from the general public driving. If somebody's pulling out or, cars backing out into a piece of equipment that's trying to respond to emergency, we try as best we can to kind of get them out and on the roads as quickly as possible and not really pull them through parking lots. Okay? All right. Okay. So I just want to show you now. If you, we're gonna switch. This is the complicated part. Okay. Oh yeah, right here. So this was our rendering of the. So this is showing it on the cemetery site, and we'll see how well my assistant can do here. Look at her go there. So this is the admin wing here. These are kind of the drive-through bays. This was kind of our pass at what we took for elevations and the look of the new fire station. And if we put it on the if we put it in the Estabrook site, I might kind of move it around a little bit because that front facade wouldn't be facing Cemetery Street like it is now. It would be kind of facing the field. So I might change, maybe put the entrance around the side here and do a few modifications. But like I said, the footprint and the amount of space inside would be similar on either one. Okay. Well, when you get in the trees, that's in the back. These are the drive-through bays, and a training hose tower.
What's the roof height on
In here, probably. So I think it would be probably like 18, something like that. It looks a little short with those doors on the rendering, but you'll have clearance, plenty of clearance to be on top of the apparatus. She's gonna get mad at me again. Sorry. So enough clearance to get on top of equipment and maybe fill tanks, and have work in there. The other thing that we would do, and what we do typically in here, is have a little bit of mezzanine storage up in the apparatus bays, so you can have some storage areas and then higher storage for bulky equipment. Okay, I think that's good for the good scene one, and she got a little too cocky.
I've got a question that's got nothing to do with the sites.
Could you speak, come to the microphone, please? The people at home can't hear you.
You were showing flat roofs, and I'm concerned that flat roofs, we're gonna have these big trusses, and that's gonna take away from the height inside the fire station, as opposed to some kind of a pitch roof, let alone the amount of weight on flat roofs around here. Can you comment on that?
Sure. We looked at both. I think cost-wise is why we were going to look at a flat roof on this project, because we have big spans, a large. We try not to put any columns down in the apparatus bays, so we end up with girder trusses and large metal trusses to get the apparatus bay. So we tried to add. We added some kind of peaked roof, because I think that's more in keeping with Berwick and the town on the front, and kind of bring. Oh well, you can't get.
Got lost.
You're doing great.
How many pounds per square foot load?
On the
Roof? Flat roof?
whatever
Whatever the
our
engineer
snow
tells
load-
you?
I don't have my engineer with me, but
Yeah,
I think
okay.
it's like 60 or something like that. 40, 60. But we do both. This was just that's going to be a really tall roof when you get front to back. And
I brought up the roof because I lived in Lebanon for 20 years,
Yeah.
and we had to fix our elementary school, which had flat roofs.
Okay.
We ended up putting pitch roof on it. And if it really is 60 pounds, that doesn't sound like very much.
Well, and I'm not the structural engineer.
Okay.
If he was here with me, he'd correct me. But the other issue that we have here is that we really don't want to slope a roof off onto the apparatus bay doors, because otherwise they're there constantly cleaning up ice, cleaning up snowfall that goes in front of the doors. So we try to, when we do pitched roofs, we try to do it sideways so that the snow sheds off to the side. And when we get a larger number of bay doors, then we usually kind of try to go flat on it just to try to keep the snow and ice from they've got enough work without, cleaning up or skidding out in front of the doors. So that was the reasoning.
That, well, the whole roof has a parapet around it, right?
Yeah,
Based on the parapet is
yeah,
flat.
this is
So
just
the-
a
are the
schematic. I mean,
drains interior? Does the roof drain inside, or is it draining on the outside?
we haven't designed that part yet. So we would either sheet drain it off the rear, or drain it to the interior, one of the two, depending on, where we're at on the site. I think I don't want to really sheet drain it again off where the two doors come through the end.
Oh, no,
I
you want
could-
to drain it inside.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of times
not a
what
big
we'll
deal.
do. But that's really more in the construction drawing portion. So right now, we've gone to just the schematic. We've kind of taken a pause here to see, get everybody's approval and input on it. And then once we got that, then we would go ahead with construction drawings. So the town's not paying for, a finished product and deciding that's not what you exactly wanted. So these are comments that we're looking for right now, too. And we want to. This is for the town of Berwick, and we want everybody to be happy with it. Okay?
What are you using? Are you using shingles on the big roofs and points and everything? Is it gonna be metal or what?
Probably maybe asphalt shingles, a good commercial quality, and then EPDM on the flat roofs is a lot of times what we do. Okay? All right.
What's the total dimension of the building?
Well, it's 17,000. I'd have to go back to my, where it's on one of these. I have you look on the plans there? Look on it. So 150 across the front, and I think it's probably about 100 plus or minus. So it's 17,000, with some jogs in and out, and but about 100 deep and 150 across, plus or minus. Okay. All right, back to next. So then the select board asked us to do a cost analysis on the projects, which have been climbing up. So this number right here would stay the same on either. So this is looking at the cemetery site. So we had a construction manager, Landry French. We use a couple of different ones. They're just a construction manager in Portland. Take a look at the plans and the site plan and the schematic plans we had, and come up with, so we have a bunch of backup for this that they came up with, kind of a schematic cost estimate for it. So the initial, what you'd consider your building construction cost, which is all the pavement and the shingles and all the windows and everything in, it was 4.2 million for the fire station. And then we had in the police station, the renovations about 277,000. So that brought the construction total to 4.5. So, but taking a look at everything, you want to look at, how much it costs to permit, to design. You need how much, you need to buy generators and apparatus
what the building price is.
Well, so right now, I mean, we don't have detailed construction drawings, so what we ask our construction manager to do is really from their experience, and they've built fire stations, and knowing from what their previous experience, I call this the like 40,000 foot view of the project. I mean, they're coming in and making assumptions from their previous experience, and also on some construction costs that have gone up. It's been a good economy recently, so a lot of contractors are doing well and charging a lot right now. So this was their number based on, kind of that accelerated economy and what they were looking at. So the total project cost is $5.6 million. Okay. Taking a look at the same site on the Estherbrook. So these numbers, we're kind of keep holding the same on that. Then we had a couple of extra numbers, looking at wetlands. I think delineation on this one, cutting that road in. I think these numbers were the same here. This was demolishing the building in the back, that little wing on the very back. Hazmats in that building. I think there's a lot of hazardous materials in there. Wetland, if we get into any wetland mitigation in that road. The access road itself going through, just sewer fee, I think, in that one. And then there's still some water line to bring in there. So it came in at 5.9, which is, similar, I guess, costs a little bit more than the other one. Well, what was the other? I might have missed that. 5.8. Yeah, they're 100,000, not 5.6. My eyes are. That's a long way off there. Sorry.
Now, I do have a question that if we put the fire department at the cemetery site, the plan is not to demolish the back end of Estherbrook?
We had the plan, correct, we had the plan to demolish the connector and that through to kind of separate that off the building, but we didn't put in the demolition of unless you wanted to, off of the police station. So we just kind of disconnected it and mothballed it back there.
My feeling is
Could
demolition,
step,
the demolition of the big Estherbrook Elementary does not belong in either one of these estimates. That's a separate subject. It shouldn't be in here clouding the waters on the downtown site cost. Okay.
but the argument is that in order to put the building in there, we have to do that demolition.
Do you really? From a civil engineering standpoint?
Well,
Do with the new fire station, which is going to be plunked on land that is not where the building is up on the hill. That building is presently now up on a big hill,
Yeah, I know where it
and
is.
you're not building anywhere near that.
No,
What
So from
are
a-
we gonna do with it? Burn it?
No, that's not my point. I'm not saying it.
Yeah.
My point is not that it doesn't have to be demolished. It just doesn't belong in this estimate. That's a separate issue for the
Yeah,
town
that's
to deal
I
with.
understand it. So
That's the way
when we get a line item, we gotta get a line item bid, when this is all over, then
Yeah.
we can see,
And what I'm
just like
driving
à la
at is,
carte.
the money you got in there for tearing down the old Estherbrook could be used to make up for the extra cost of driveways on the downtown site. That's what I'm driving at here, okay?
so, yeah, and you're correct. The place that the location that we have the fire station right now could work without demolishing that building, so.
Well, what about Cemetery Road, access to Hubbard Road? There's no access from Cemetery Road to Hubbard Road, not for a fire truck.
Chief, you want to talk? Okay.
We were asked to do a study, reference to where the best location would be for a fire station. So what we did is we ended up taking all our calls that we had in that area, as well as the response times over the last 4 years,
Is that speaker on?
And the
I
best
can't-
site would have been on Pine Hill Road. That was the first site that we looked at, and that site didn't pan out because of the lay of the land. So then we went to the Cemetery Road site. By moving to the Cemetery Road site, you would increase the coverage area and response times to a few more residents throughout the country within a 5-mile radius of the fire station. On the other hand, you do end up increasing a response time to places like Hubbard Road, Old Route 4 area, not by much, maybe by a couple, 3 minutes. But you can't cover the whole town of Berwick because of its size and its layout. You know, someday, hopefully, Riddland Road would be fixed up and paved and give you quick access. But
Are they gonna wanna update one of those roads to access Hubbard Road?
that's something the town will need to look at in the future, no matter where they put it.
Put it up there.
Sure.
That's gonna happen at some point, probably.
Yeah, but the overall coverage that the people out that are more than 5 miles away from the fire station now get very little credit on their homeowner's insurance. Within that 5 miles, you get credit. And that's through most insurance companies out there, the ISO rating. So there are pros and cons with all this. The bottom line is the town needs a new fire station. And doing what we were asked, that was the location that we came up with based on statistics.
Cause the other cost I don't see is the sidewalk and road widening all the way up to where the place is on Cemetery Road.
Again, from my standpoint, that road is capable of handling the equipment that we're gonna have there. That issue may be something the town's gonna need to address down the road, but our recommendation is the Cemetery Road site, basically because of the increased protection we're gonna give the residents out in the country that are getting little now.
What about in the spring when you limit the weight of vehicles on the roads?
Emergency
Hey,
vehicles
sir,
are
can you get up
exempt.
and, could you like introduce yourself?
I'll repeat the question, rather than have, the question is about in the springtime when the roads are posted, for weight limits, I'll let,
Yeah, emergency vehicles are exempt from them weight limits, always have been. We go on roads now that we need to get there, we do what we gotta do.
If you're doing it on a continuous basis.
Excuse me?
If you're doing it on a continuous basis.
Yeah, I mean, no matter where you go, you're gonna have the same problem. You got access concerns with the police department site. You got one road you're gonna come out to, you're gonna have the same problems we got today with traffic. You may even have to end up putting some more extra traffic lights in, so.
I mean, that Cemetery Road is bad enough as it is, with a fire truck coming down there, lickety-split. Oncoming traffic is gonna have to pull over. And there isn't a hell of a lot of room to pull over.
You ever been in South Berwick and the traffic's backed up for a mile and a half in either direction, the fire trucks come out, everyone moves over and they go right through, there's hardly any slowdown. I mean, what worse can that get? It's terrible up there, but they move over, people move when the vehicles come out with alarms on.
And we've had them run into the ditch out there trying to get out of the snow, let alone get away from a fire truck going down. That road needs to be rebuilt if the fire station ends up on Cemetery Road.
Second motion on that. I think, you know, some of these fire trucks the center of gravity is very high on them. And that road coming down Cemetery Road, right along the far side lane from the cemetery, it's got a bad dip in it.
Got a
I
ground
sweat
on it.
coming down there just in my car every winter.
We've had oil
Seems like,
trucks
you know,
go into the ditch.
It's just an accident waiting for a place to happen.
Scheduled to be
right.
done in the next year or two.
the question has been about the condition of Cemetery Road and whether it can handle the traffic and the trucks coming down through there. I'll let Steve talk about that.
We have been reworking our 5 and 10-year capital plan for roads. And Worcester Road and Cemetery Road would be scheduled next year if I get money appropriated for it. Everything costs money, and both those roads need, a good part of them, especially Worcester, needs to be torn up and rebuilt. And some Cemetery Road, we have to do the same thing. if we decide to build this fire station out on Cemetery Road, I'm gonna put that off, because you would not even have the funding for it until May or June of 2019. So you have at least a year of big trucks coming in and out of there so I plan, once the station is done, is to go in and rebuild that road the second year. So these roads are on the radar, but I've got to have the money. Pine Hill's another one I get a lot of complaints about, and but it all costs a lot of money. So we're hopefully that we'll get that.
Paul?
If some people will save some money on their home insurance in that part of town around the Cemetery Road area and Pine Hill Road, will other people on the other end of town have to pay more being further away from a centralized fire department?
I don't have that information I know that the fire department did a broad study about where all the calls are coming from and how that's all covered, so.
Your insurance rate normally is based on the ISO rating. If you call your homeowner's insurance or your insurance company, they can tell you whether they use that rating factor. Based on the hydrant district in the town of Berwick, which is about 10% of the town, that's one rate that you pay if you're within that district. If you're 5 miles from the fire station out, that's another rate that they charge. And if you're over that, you get charged top dollar. Not all insurance companies use the ISO rating, but the majority of them do. So if you move the station from point A to point B, Cemetery Road, it's not going to have too much of effect on the others. I wish I had the diagram, but we could show you that actually it takes away from Somersworth and puts it back in Berwick where it belongs, the rating, the coverage area. Like I said, there was only Hubbard Road, the further end, and a little more on Old Route 4.
Do you have an estimate on, an average, just kind of an average figure of how much money that does mean as far as lowering stuff?
The only thing I can tell you is that I got a call from a gentleman on Key Road, first of the year, and he was concerned about his rate increase in his homeowners. It had gone up $234 annually. And the reason the insurance company gave him was because we're all volunteer, and our response times to that area of town was over 15 minutes, I believe it was. Both of those facts were not true. I provided the individual with the facts, meaning we have one person on 24/7, which helped reduce this cost, as well as our response time now got reduced because we don't have to wait for people to get to the station to get a vehicle on the road. And that $234, once the insurance got that, was taken off his homeowners. So there are a number of different factors that have to play with that, including the distance from a fire station. That's one example that really happened this year.
All right. Thank you.
More questions?
Just another comment. I'm looking at the town map over there. The real problem is look where the downtown is relative to all of our square miles. And whether the fire station is 1 mile this way or 1.25 miles that way, I agree with Dennis. It is going to affect some people. But it's also not going to help a lot of people, particularly Hubbard Road. The way I see it, Hubbard Road is going to be in trouble for a long time until we get some crossroads in this town. To me, it really comes down whether you want that much traffic on Cemetery Road versus the land that we already own downtown. Now, I do support the downtown. I do feel most of these people are here because they're concerned about one location or the other. I might be wrong in that, but I'll bet that's what brought most people down here. But look at that town map. Nothing but substations later is going to solve that problem. And obviously, we're not going to have substations until we have a very large population out of town. But
We got a lot of bunk beds.
huh?
See all the bunk beds we had? 16.
The what?
The bunk beds in the new fire station.
Oh, the bunk beds?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what are you driving at there?
What?
What?
What do you? I'm talking,
Is-
never mind, I'll talk to you later.
You know, we're talking about locations
I
that
know,
are
I
a
know.
mile and a half apart.
Right, right.
And I agree, people on the other end of Little River Road and out in that general area are gonna save a couple bucks on their insurance because they'll fall within that 5 miles. Not questioning Dennis on that at all. But I personally don't like the Cemetery Road location. I don't think it does a hell of a lot of good for that many people versus the problems potentially with traffic. I like the downtown location. I know it's gonna cost more to build driveways downtown, and that's why I don't like the Hussey School being, the elementary school being involved in that particular budget. But, that's that. I mean, look at the town. That's the problem, the shape of the town.
Well, if, what I wonder is, I look at it as like an irrigation system, right? So we're down here now, okay? Then you got coverage on that end of town from South Berwick, North Berwick, Somersworth. So we're drawing a 5-mile radius from I look at it as every fire department, right? So what you're saying is, even though they're within 5 miles of the Berwick Fire Department, or is it any fire department?
Depends upon the insurance company, Mark, whether they'll accept Lebanon for the other end of Hubbard Road.
Right.
I mean, I don't know whether they do or not. That'd be an insurance ISO question.
I use Lebanon.
What's that?
What'd you say?
I use Lebanon. My insurance company takes Lebanon Fire Department. And I'm off of Alley Pond on Long Swamp.
I'll you know, pipe in here about the Cemetery Road. I live on Cemetery Road. I prefer not to have a fire station a half mile from my house. But earlier this year, we had, you know, Sam Tibbetts came down and gave us a presentation, a very detailed presentation about where the calls are, where the growth in town has been, and where the growth is continuing to go. And it is out towards Little River Road, Long Swamp Road, out that way. That's where the majority of the growth has been. We looked at the first parcel we looked at was on Pine Hill Road, just up from the mobile home park. But because of the configuration of the land there, it wouldn't work. It would have been a lot more expensive, and the site itself was strange shape, and it would have been difficult to put it there. That's when we started looking at other places, and the Cemetery Association came to us and offered this piece. It's approximately 6 acres. We did a lot of research into it, and I support it going out on Cemetery Road only because that's where all the statistics, all the facts show that it should be. The cost of downtown versus there is pretty close. I think that, you know, I disagree with you, sir, that I think that in order to fit that station on there and get vehicle access into the back of the building and stuff, we would have to take that Estabrook School down. And I think that is something that would have to come down. You know, I worked heavy construction 40 years, and you know, you can't have, unless we did a big retaining wall right at that banking, we'd have to cut into that too far and would be into that building. So, as I said, personally, I don't want it on Cemetery Road for my own personal reasons, but for the best part of the town and where it should go I feel that's where it should go. If somebody were to bring us a proposal of land on Pine Hill Road that suits us, I would jump at that. Because that would eliminate a lot of other costs, you know, coming in off of Cemetery Road. But because of the way the road frontage has been broken up and eaten up over the years, there are no big contiguous pieces on the road, and we'd have to be building access roads into it. So that's my feeling, but we're here to hear from you people, so any other questions, comments, anything, please step to the mic and let us know, because that's what this is for, is to get this information.
I live on Cemetery Road too. I certainly don't want it there. There's a cost of thousands of dollars for that property across from the cemetery. I don't know if that's in the figures that you presented or not. Okay. In the Berwick location, next to the police station, that's property owned by the town. So there's no cost there to buy property. So there's a savings there of 81,000, 87,000, whatever. There's a lot of people that use Cemetery Road to walk, jog, kids, dogs, and you know, I just don't think it should be built on that location. We're a residential area. It's a quiet, peaceful area, except for the hot rods that go up and down the road. And if
They
that
go by
road,
my house, so.
if that road gets rebuilt, it's going to even be worse than it is now. And I've turned some kids in because they don't want to slow down. But you know, we didn't talk about the septic system up there. What are you going to do about that? Do you not run in town sewerage?
No, it would be no town sewage, it'd be on a leach field.
It'd be a leach field
Yeah.
bed, okay. Would the residents have to tie into the water line going up?
No. No, and that's one of the reasons I specifically asked those questions, because I know with state law, if the sewer line goes by, you don't have to tie into it, but you still have to pay a fee.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons I was absolutely opposed to running sewer up there. But the water line is not the same, the water line can go by your house and you're not required to pay the fee.
And if and when that road gets rebuilt, I'm assuming it's going to be a little bit wider than it is now, which is going to take property away from front property away from the owners. And it's going to open up more access for people to walk and ride bikes, walk their dogs, the kids. A lot of people go up to the cemetery, walk up to the cemetery. It's just a bad situation. That's my comment.
Thank you.
I've got a comment and actually a question as well.
Thank you.
The Estabrook School, I believe you guys said that it has to come down anyway.
Well, it eventually it would come down.
Yeah.
One of the things, you know, I'll talk a little bit about the Estabrook property. You know, several years back we had entered into an agreement with was it Portsmouth Housing? No.
Avesta or Portsmouth
No,
Housing?
it was Portsmouth Housing, not Avesta. No, and we were looking at, allowing them to build like an assisted living facility there. They didn't get their funding, so that was off the table now.
Well, not really.
Well,
We could have gone on and continued, but we didn't.
My feeling is that if this were to be built on Cemetery Road, we were looking at selling off part of that property, for something similar to that, so we could take that money and put it back into the fire department or in the police department in the renovation, and then also we would have the property where the fire station is now for sale, and I would propose that any sales from that property, that would also go towards the costs of this. We've had some guesstimates about what the Estabrook property is worth, fair market value. We've heard anywhere from $150,000 to up to $400,000. I would think it's probably closer to $300,000 maybe. And I have
What? For what?
For the Estabrook School.
To do what, Will?
To sell it.
Yeah, but do what? Were they gonna put apartments in? They're gonna, 'cause all of a
that-
sudden, here's 5 mile square between this guy's 330 apartments over here, another 200 over there,
200 here.
200 here, whatever it
The
is.
only reason
it's
I'm
gonna
asking
be-
is because
It's gonna sway his thing
the
this way.
Estabrook School's there, and if it's got to come down anyway, I see it as going out, and I understand your viewpoint as far as Cemetery Road being geographically the smart location to put it, but if we already own the property next to the police station, it would improve both the fire department and the police department having both those facilities next to each other. It just seems like it makes more sense to try and make it work in that land rather than trying to go out and buy a separate piece of land. And my comment to you would actually be, when you had the fire station next to the police station, if you kicked the building on a 45, would it then open the lanes for the apparatuses to be able to use the existing driveway that the police department use, rather than cutting in a new access into a side street?
That's a possibility.
We talked about that actually,
It
and.
would also possibly give you the ability to get the apparatuses in without necessarily taking out that hill.
Yeah, we talked about access, and is where the drive off of Wilson Street comes in, it services the police station now, but it also services the apartment buildings there. And the idea of mixing the traffic, the public traffic and the safety traffic there, isn't the best scenario.
Well, I was talking more about the Sullivan Street
Does the
driveway.
police department uses that side road on the,
Yeah, the
coming
Sullivan
out
Street
to
driveway
Cumberland
is
Farms,
wide
right?
enough and
That
with
exit?
very little
That's
work.
all it is, an exit, right?
Yeah.
Except when we
Right.
plow.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments? You had one back there, or you? Another neighbor. Hi, Diane.
First of all, I'd like to know why the people with P.O. boxes never got these. I have a P.O. box, and the only reason I knew, because Hall Brothers has a mailbox outside, and they got theirs in their mailbox.
That's a
But the-
question for the postal service.
The P.O. box never got these.
They were supposed to go to every household, whether it's P.O. box or a mailbox.
Yeah.
We paid for it to go to every household.
Well, you can tell the post office they owe you money because they never put them in the P.O. boxes. My other thing is, I don't understand why you don't use, by the police station, why would you want to sell that building when you got the police station there? How secure would that make them with another apartment place there? And with the fire station and the police department there, it makes it more secure, and they can use their gym and stuff. It's more, to me, it would be more, right, more common sense, more downtown, more, but they could both use the, they get access to both facilities, and they both get upgrades.
And I don't, as far as the security, I don't doubt that the police station will maintain their security no
Well,
matter
I'm
what
sure,
goes there.
But I don't think it would be advantageous to have a lot more people in that area living there. I don't know, they've got the other apartment building there. And,
So.
It would
I'm
be a
just
different
saying.
type of place if we built it, right? It wouldn't be the same as the old school building.
What, you mean, for what?
Do you have a lot of trouble in that building? Much trouble?
As far as what?
Having to go there and rest someone or tell someone to chill out?
No, actually, it's been fairly quiet.
So that's quiet.
Pleased with the lack of calls there.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Well, that's my only comment, but like I said, I wasn't real happy that the P.O. boxes didn't get these.
We'll find out.
The flyers, first I heard of it tonight. We never got one. And my neighbor never got one. Neighbor across the street got one. So I don't know how they were sent out.
Yeah.
But,
It was
you know.
bulk mail. It was supposed to go to every household in town, whether it was a P.O. box or a mailbox. If that didn't happen, that's the postal service, and I will definitely call them.
I would like to have gotten one. You mentioned, Tom, about selling some property. If you built up on the cemetery road, sell off some of that property?
Well, sell off where the Estabrook School is.
The Estabrook. All
Right.
Nothing up there.
No.
Just subdivided.
No, the fire department would take all that property, for their training and their parking and.
Now, where that Estabrook School is built, is that built on ledge too?
I'm not sure about that. I know having gone to school there and fallen down on that ledge many times, there was a big outcrop out back that I know that they had taken out down below ground level, but there is exposed ledge all back in there next to Logan Street, up in there.
Which?
If
Right
that's,
now,
if
right
that's,
now,
if
in our
that's
day and
ledge,
age, what they would do is they would come in, they'd drill it, they'd blast it, they'd crush it,
They would
they'd
have
mix
to.
it, and that would be all our gravels for the site.
it would have to
So
be.
you would
'Cause you're
be-
not
you
gonna
would
get
be
to the
saving
back of
because
that fire
rock
station
prices are out of
like you
sight.
want to if you don't take that hill out of there.
Right.
You gotta use that. It makes gravel. You might as well make your gravel with what you got on site. So that's, to me, is a,
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. I've been in that business.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's gonna be a vote on this in November.
There will be a vote on a proposal, as we have to decide, what proposal we're bringing forth. As,
Do you intend to have any more hearings on it? I know you've had a few already.
No.
No, we're reaching the deadline as far as getting things on the warrant, is we have to make this decision within the next couple of weeks.
Now, if you guys decide to go with Cemetery Road, are you gonna put a separate line item in the budget for Estabrook School, or what's gonna happen with that?
If we decide to do just the cemetery road, there'll be nothing in, we have no firm plans for the Estabrook School yet. So, no, there would be nothing in there. What we had proposed to us before was age 55 plus assisted living facility in there. And they were looking to put, I think it was 24 units in there.
55 and up,
Yeah.
55 assisted living?
Yeah.
Well, it was a combination of 55 and up, and some of it would be for assisted living. The other thing is that we've had Vista here, who built the apartments in South Berwick, and they were here, and they would talk to us about coming here, but right now they have quite a few projects going throughout the Portland area. And they were also interested. They liked the location down here because it was going to be close to this downtown. It was close to the library.
Public transportation with the bus.
Public transportation was a real plus for them.
Did you see the one they did in Dover, where the church came down?
No.
The Vestiges did?
They do good work.
This looks terrible.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I don't like the looks
The
of it.
city
but-
doesn't like it at all.
The only one I can look at is the one that's in South Berwick, and I think that's a nice looking building.
Yeah.
And it adds to their downtown,
Yep.
Yeah.
so.
So, step to the mic, please.
I need to ask the town manager first.
Yep,
It's
you
okay
can.
if I speak.
Well, actually, I think you have to ask me, but.
Well, it's because I'm certified as a town manager, and I don't go into another town usually and speak. I'm the town manager from South Berwick, if you don't know who I am. I was watching this at our home, our weekly home anyway, up in 12 Wilson Street, and same place that Steve lives. We do have a frat house there if you want to stop by sometime. And we do talk a lot of business. And sometimes the voice went off a couple of times, which I think were very important on this podcast or that you have. But I've had a lot of conversation with Steve about this, probably over a glass of wine, but that really doesn't matter. It's what we do.
You
in
didn't
here.
invite me?
And we've been partners for a long time. I asked Steve to come down here. I thought he was a great guy. This is my 8th year in South Berwick. That's almost a new record at this point. It will be before I leave. But I live here more in Berwick than I do at my home. And I own 3 homes up in western Maine. I'm down here 5 days a week. So in 7 years, I've gone home 2 or 3. I probably average 3 days a week if you take vacation, which we don't usually take. And so I'm more probably engrossed in the politics here, and I feel like South Berwick is my community, and Berwick is my second community, and I've watched what's happened over the years. Recently, we decided that we needed a police station. Since 1987. I look at the chief and I ask, how long have you needed a fire station? And the fundamental question when we got ready to vote was, that I asked the public was, and I ask you the same thing, do you need a new fire station? Probably I think you need a police station too, but you need a fire station first because that's where the center of your community is. You have to have that protection. South Berwick comes here a lot. We do come here a lot. We've been partners forever. We've been partners in dispatch, which we stayed partners because we knew we had to move because of new rules that the state has implemented. And Steve and I have worked hard for 2 years to make this happen. We come here when you don't have volunteers. We're lucky that we have the amount of volunteers that we have during the day. We can resource people to almost any situation. Likewise, you've always been resourceful to us. If I look at your police department, I say the same thing. No reason that I wouldn't. We've been partners forever. Cost of money today is excruciating. 4 years ago, I borrowed money at 1.39% for a $4 million road upgrade. I don't go through the main bond bank. I go through tax credits, if you may, and I have to be rated by Standard & Poor's and Moody's. When I stood up in front of the people in South Berwick and said, we need a police station, the fundamental question again was, do you believe that we need a new police station? After all the debate of 7 or 8 different sites, 7 or 8 different architectural plans, and $200,000 later, we settled on a site and we took it to town meeting. I told people that I didn't believe at that time that we could borrow money for less than 3.25%. We went through Moody's again, we went through Standard & Poor's, we got re-rated, and we got our loan. The total interest rate over the 20 years was 3.13%. That saved us $10,000 a year in a normalized payment over the period of time. I think that the town of Berwick has to make a choice of not only what is the best site, but do we want to borrow the money now, or do we want to wait until money is the way that escalation is taking place today? You know, I was paying 3 or 4 years ago on my homeowner's loan, I was only paying 2.5%, 3%. 4.5% now, going up to 5%. It's only a matter of time. So you have to make the decision if this is the right time or not the right time. That's basically it. And it boils down to dollars. What's the dollar value going to be on every $100,000 of valuation? We all pour money into our school system on a regular basis, but we don't pour money into our own infrastructure. That site at Estabrook, right up behind us, is a site that Avesta will look at in the future. At least that's my belief. They're the best people to work for. I sold them our site for a lot more money than what I thought it was worth. They pay me $25,000 a year in taxes as a tax collector, and they provided 28 apartments for seniors. That's an important piece that you have to look, because if you look around this room, got a few young people here, but it's the same place every place. We're all growing older, and we're going to need a place that we can go to. So you need to be marketing Estabrook if that's the case, that you think that it might be remodelable, or it won't cost you anything to tear it down. They're going to tear it down. You build that into your price of the sale. because they have to rehab the site and get it ready. So it doesn't make any difference to me where you go. But I guess the message I'd like to, that I got up from the chair that I was watching this and then said I had to come down here and kind of give my feelings on it, is that, do you want a new fire station? Do you need a new fire station? People could argue that I built my police station out of town, and have. I spent the weekend answering a bunch of questions about changing dispatch, about the police station, about the tax rate and how we were going to do it. I actually spent the weekend here basically on social media with, in the Bulletin South Berwick, taking hits. But that's what Steve and I do. I know he's here to answer your questions. I know that you have a pretty strong select board here, as I have a pretty strong council. And the question goes back, and I'm going to end it with this, is ask yourself, ask the public, how long have you been in this particular fire station that you have now? How long have you known that it was substandard? And when do you want to replace it? If you don't take it this year, it's going to go up next year, it's going to go up the next year. If you can get the right rate at the right time, which right now bonds have stabilized, you might get in at 3 1/4 instead of 3 1/2 like I forecast. That saves you roughly $10,000 a year over a 20-year bond. That's real money. And thank you for letting me have some time at your microphone. Thank you.
Anytime.
Anytime.
How's that?
I want to talk about a little bit more about location. Is I know there's been some talk around town about keeping the existing fire station and adding on to it. Is the property next door to it, with Nick Zip's place, the secondhand shop is for sale. People have talked to me about why can't we buy that and expand onto that. Is first off, is the asking price for that is over $250,000. So there's an additional cost there. Then we'd have to pay to demolition that. So there's an additional cost there. And plus it would not give us what we need for access. We'd have the same problem we have now of backing in off of School Street, Route 9, is pulling out onto there, and it's not big enough. So we can't use the existing fire station, it's substandard. We would end up probably having to tear that down. And where do we put the fire station then? The fire department during that period of time. So I'm just throwing that out there because I know there has been talk around town, no questions about why we couldn't do that. And so I just want to let people know that that has been looked at and considered, and as far as I'm concerned, that's a no-go area. So, further questions, comments?
Long time ago, I was on the fire department. This two-story, nobody's talked about the fact that this station is two-story, and that does slow down response time. These guys have got a hell of a stairway. They have to come down every time that alarm rings, and it is very dangerous to them. Plus the trusses on the roof and what have you. It needs to be replaced, so I agree with you guys on that. I support a new fire station on Sullivan Street.
I think we got that.
I too did not get a survey. With that said, when were the surveys that you mailed out supposed to be returned back?
Oh, they weren't a survey. They were just information about this meeting.
Okay. I, for one, stood at the June 12th election that we just had, just out of voluntary, just because there was a box down below at the steps that had nobody there, nobody from the fire department, nobody from the police department, wanted to get polls that you could have the information of where the people wanted this fire station to be. And I don't know if any of you saw me there or filled out the survey. I don't know if it was even posted on the website, town's website, or what those, I stayed there voluntarily till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon when I had to go. Tried to get somebody to come over that this was gonna benefit. It isn't gonna benefit me except for my tax dollars, and I'm just one little drop of water in the bucket, so to speak. So I felt it was my duty as, a resident of Berwick to stand there and see what the people wanted. What is your outlook of where you want this thing to be? And a lot of people stopped, and a lot of people said, yeah, I'll fill out this paper and let the selectmen know where you want this piece of land, the piece of property located at. The results of that that were given to me from the town manager as a courtesy, because I stood there and did that work for all of us, not just myself, was as follows. There were a total of 221 surveys casted, and I don't remember what time I got there to start that for you guys and myself. There were only 221 surveys that were cast that day, over 1,000 voters that showed up to vote. So that is crazy in itself, and we're talking millions of dollars, and I can't tell you how many people walked by me and said, let them put it where they want it. Really? Okay. All right, well, remember that when your tax bill comes in the mail, because they're going to put it where they want it, according to those people. That's not acceptable for myself. The results were the location, 57 of those people wanted it on Cemetery Road. 102 people wanted it in the Estabrook property, and at that time, Pine Hill property was on the table, and only 19 people wanted it there. Obviously, Pine Hill's been taken off the table now. The other portion to that survey was how many people wanted a station, a public safety complex to be. 66 people wanted a combined public safety complex. 76 people wanted a new fire station and renovate the old police department where it was, and only 40 people wanted a brand new station by itself. I wanted to know, this is just a minute representation of a little bit of people that really care about what's going to happen in town. I mean, where do we stand as far as you guys get to make the final call as far as what goes onto the ballot, and we get to say yes or no? How well does that represent what those amount of people wanted, in relation to what's going to happen and where you make your decision to put it on the ballot? I mean, have you already made? I mean, sitting there, it kind of sounds like you've already kind of pushed where you want to go, and I'm kind of getting, just for my own getting to where it's already Cemetery Road. I mean, I'm kind of getting the vibe that, yeah, it's going to go that way. I mean, just from, the feedback. I mean, am I wrong? Am I right? I don't know.
I think you're wrong.
I'm wrong? Okay.
I can't speak
I
for
haven't
the
made
rest.
my mind up.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I can't speak for the rest of the board.
Okay.
I was actually waiting to see
All right.
the two cost analysis and where they're side by side and looking at them.
Well,
So
did any
close.
of that data that was collected, did that weigh into any of this as well? I mean, I know Pine Hill's off the table, and so, I mean, is that why we're still going forward with the two selections that are still left on the board, on the table?
Nothing has been decided,
Okay.
nothing has been decided.
And then
And
Go ahead.
I think I may be in the minority on the board as far as, thinking it should go on the cemetery road. Even, as I said, I don't want it there personally, but for the good of the town, I think that's where it probably should go.
And then
For the good of the town?
Yeah.
the last comment or suggestion I have is the slideshow. I know a lot of people are watching during TV or on their computers live streaming. Will the slideshow that was put up, will that be available in a printed copy, or, so that people can actually look at it and digest it and, study what the diagrams are showing, or how will that information be available to the public besides just right here?
It will be up on the webpage, our webpage, and it'll also be up on BCTV, and we certainly can make copies. Won't be in color, but.
Oh, it doesn't have to be color. I mean, some people just need a visual to look at, and so.
We actually in the beginning, when the architect came in, we actually talked about putting the foundation in on Cemetery Road for the police station, okay? And building a leach field for the police station. So that's when that started there. So, I feel as if, and I've always felt as if they should be together as a public safety complex. That's what I think. because I think we're gonna save money in the final outcome.
Okay, I just didn't know. Yeah, thanks.
Site, I'm up in the air.
Is there a news reporter here?
Is there one?
Is there a news reporter here?
No, I have no
Because to
idea.
this lady's point, even at the last election, interest seemed to be low. And you're getting down to the wire now.
Well, if you took,
I mean, you know, putting this on the Channel 2 or whatever it is. and
22.
It's got to go in the newspaper. There needs to be more drumming up about this in the newspaper, and I'll bet that would
Is the
lead
circ-
to more phone calls to you guys.
The circulation of the newspaper in Berwick is way down.
Way
So,
down? Yeah.
you know, I think more people get it off the internet now than.
Well, that's where I found out about this meeting,
Yeah,
actually.
so,
Was on Foster's.
yeah.
But,
hearing was noticed in Foster.
yeah.
Can
Okay.
it go in the, can it go in the Sentinel? I mean, what's the cost of going, it goes to everybody's mailbox, free.
It's not free to put an ad.
One of the elections, I think, must have been last fall or spring, I forget now when it was. There was a little yellow piece of paper just inside the door of town hall. We went upstairs on sites to put this fire police station. Was there any results from that?
That's what Tammy was just talking about.
She was saying?
Yeah, that's what, and those results were up on the website, you know, they got put up as, so, I know the person that counted them.
so what does it tell you, Tammy? How many people are for the combination or for the separate?
She just read that.
I know, but what, I need to, I'm just thinking about the numbers again.
For the
Percentage rate.
station, I don't know the percentage, I just know the actual, for the public safety complex together was only 66 people out of 221 voters that cast.
'Cause I know I stood there for half an hour and made out, 175.
I know you wouldn't do that, Rodney.
Because we got 221 voters, right? Oh, good, thanks.
Yeah, just keep hitting it every time.
If I remember right, didn't you say that the fire station alone was the lowest number? Out of your 200 and something?
He's got it now. What was the fire station alone, Mark?
Fire station is, you had 40 votes
40?
for the new fire station only. 76 for new fire station and renovate the PD. 66 for new public safety complex. And basically, it's 2-1 on Cemetery Road to Estabrook School vote. Right? 2-1, they wanted it to Estabrook School, quarter this. And a combined facility, which would be at the Estabrook School.
I just want to make maybe a couple of comments. First, I rely on the police, fire, and police departments to make good decisions for what their needs are. I don't know what their needs are. I listen to them, they're the professionals, and I think, we need to respect that. They've got, big equipment coming out of the stations, and where the entryway, that was one of the biggest things that we saw with this, the Estabrook site, is how are we gonna get these vehicles out onto the main road in the quickest manner and the safest manner, not just to them, but to the public. These roads are very, very busy, and they're gonna get even busier once this project here starts going. So I want you to keep that, I just wanna make that statement. We're gonna have to, if we go on the Sullivan Road, we're gonna have to do wetland mitigation to move it, because it's all wet over there. That will get us on the Sullivan Road, but it isn't solving the traffic issue that we're gonna have to deal with to get these trucks out and up the street again. But I rely on my fire people to make the best decisions, because they're the professionals.
Well, the other thing is that fire chief thinks his coverage is better, or says the coverage is better on Cemetery Road, right? Your coverage is within your 5-mile radius from Cemetery Road.
Response
The
time.
police department says their coverage, right, Tim, I think you, their coverage is better at the Estabrook School. So, what do we do?
Well, I think in the fire,
Gonna get your exercise.
I need it. I think on the fire side of that, Mark, is that in the fire service, we're located in one location. That's where we are 24/7 until we're called. So it's not like the police department. The police department normally could be any place in town.
Oh, true, true.
So the response times, you can't really compare the fire with the police. We're there, we're ready.
What is
we're-
your estimated,
I'm sorry?
what is your estimated, so your response time is gonna increase from moving the fire department from down here to Pine Hill Road? How much is that, how many minutes is that gonna increase
No,
it?
the question was the Hubbard Road, which the gentleman brought up, was that going to increase the response times? And yeah, it will, because we're moving a little bit further out. We got to come into town and.
But
then
how
go-
much time?
Probably a couple minutes. I mean,
Minutes?
that's what I'm estimating.
Tim?
What's that?
Tim, so does it,
Oh.
I'm trying to understand, your objection to being up on Cranberry Meadow Road. Cemetery Road, so I'm
The
sorry.
overwhelming majority of my calls are literally within half a mile of where the police department sits. So to move me away from what I call my call center, to me, makes no sense. Whether it
Tim,
be-
did you speak to?
So, they're within a half a mile? Shit. Excuse me.
To our downtown area.
If you just start over so
Sure.
people at home can hear you.
So our call center is what I refer to it as, is really localized into the downtown area, about half a mile radius from my police department. So to move us outside of that, theoretically, I agree with what the chief's saying, that we are mobile, but there are a number of us that are at the station during the daytime. So that response time, I take into account, you're moving 4 or 5 people out of that call center. Just statistically, I'm where I should be.
So that, to the people of the town, that's part of the dilemma of this whole thing, is trying to figure out how to make both, we need a fire station, there's no doubt about it. But the best place to suit it, this is what, we're listening to this, as selectmen, and we have to make a decision, and we need your help. I'm not just gonna give, it's not my opinion, it's your opinion, your vote is what counts.
So I will go on record saying that the fire chief needs a fire station. He does.
Oh, you said that in the past, so you.
Yeah, undoubtedly he does,
Yeah.
there's no question.
He does.
And the police department's kind of gotten tagged along onto this, and I will say to everyone, he needs a fire department. My needs, I'm functioning now with what we have. The additions would be excellent, I mean, I'd love to have them, but we're operating, we have been since 2008, with what we have right now. So the $277,000, although I'd appreciate it, if it makes a difference on his building, give it to him. But I have to tell you that to have us move out of our call center really makes no sense to me. It just doesn't.
Thank you.
That's it. Okay.
Thank you.
Paul?
Is it possible on the warrant articles to actually have the people that, similar to the survey that was done on voting day, to have the people choose which of the 2 locations for a fire department would be their choice, assuming they seem to be good reasons for either one of them. And it kind of sounds like some of the people feel that the public hasn't chimed in on it, but is that an option to actually have 2 warrant articles, or one that would choose one or the other at the November meeting? Just asking.
I'd have to put it on paper to look at it. It's,
You'd have to word it so that,
yeah, the wording has to be done right, because we have to include bond information so the public has a, idea of the cost, and how many years we're gonna have the bond, and what that impact is gonna be. So there's a lot of that. I've got 2 weeks to get it to Patty, all this information, and it has to go through bond lawyers to look at all that. So we're running out of time. September 4th is the drop dead date that this group has to sign the warrant to get it posted and out to the public. So I could look at it.
If that's an option,
Yeah.
I think you probably would make a lot of people in town happy if they could chime in on it, so.
My name is Judy, and I have a couple comments. First, about Cemetery Road, my biggest concern with the fire station moving up there is the cemetery is supposed to be a solemn place. And I would find great offense if there was a funeral procession going on and the fire alarms go off, or I don't know who has precedence over the road. I mean, usually the funeral procession has the right of way. Does a funeral procession pull over so the fire trucks could go by? So that's the biggest concern that I have, just because I think the dead should rest in peace, even though they don't know it. Second concern about getting the fire trucks back onto Sullivan Road. I mean, it happens every day in Rochester. There is a stoplight there when there's a call. I mean, you're talking right downtown, hundreds of traffic, very busy Main Street. The light goes off, the cars automatically stop. From Main Street, they stop. From Profile Bank, they stop everywhere. So there's no problem getting vehicles on and off the road from a downtown area. A lot of your large cities have their fire stations right in the downtown area. And my other comment was going to be similar to what this gentleman just presented. I don't think it's a question so much if we want a fire station. We need a fire station.
Right.
We do. And if you put it on the ballot and you put down a certain location and people don't want that location, then the whole thing is gone.
Right, we gotta find out what they want.
So if there could be, you know, do you want a fire station? And then have the people choose which location. Because otherwise, if you present Cemetery Road, and as the survey said, because I filled out the survey, and I didn't get down here till like 10 minutes of 8 because I totally forgot, and there was nobody there, but I mean, I filled out the survey. So I mean, if you present it to Cemetery Road, where it's quite obvious, according to the survey, even the few that responded, that's not the location that they're choosing. So if you present a fire station on Cemetery Road, and it gets voted down because it's Cemetery Road, then the fire station is out. And then you have to start all over again and wait till next year or whatever. So I think it would be a great idea, if it's feasible, to, do you want this fire station, and then give the people the choice.
What do you say?
Pick the
You say
location.
put it off for another year?
No, I
No,
didn't
no.
say that. I said, if you put it on as Cemetery Road, it may get voted down because according to the survey, that's not what people want. Then the fire station is off for at least another year.
Well, no, it's a small, that's only a small vote, but
Right, but I mean, if it's going to the, I mean, I know there's not, sometimes a lot of people vote. I mean, when I put my vote in, I usually look at the number to see. And if I'm
We have
200
to-
and
we-
some, I know
we have
that's
to-
only been 100
we
people.
need a fire department, so.
Right, we know we need a
we
fire
need it.
department.
It's just a matter of where they want it.
Right, but like I'm saying, if you say Cemetery Road and that's not the location that people want, they're gonna vote the fire station right out.
But then you have the chief who's running this department
So-
telling us that, you know, of what he explained to you earlier. So
Right.
that has to come into consideration,
Right.
same as with the PD. So that's all has to come into consideration here before we, I mean, you heard what he said.
I heard what he said. We're
Okay.
still talking only, you know, less than 2 miles difference. So, you know, I don't know. But I'm just saying that, you know, if you put it in a location where people don't want, they're gonna vote it down, and then the fire department's not gonna get anything. So it's very tough situation. And like you
That's
said,
why we get
the
paid the
town is
big
very
bucks.
lopsided. I mean, I just spent last Thursday night in a public hearing in Lebanon. I mean, an hour and a half, I mean, they were going through 56 articles just on a land ordinance. In a matter of 3 hours, we had only made it to ordinance number 20. All because of the new land ordinance that they put through. So, you know, it's just very tough. So, and I commend you guys for trying to do this.
Thank you.
I know we're coming down to the line, and it sounds like we're rush to get all this in on time, which kind of seems like that's what this town kind of does a lot. I mean,
Oh,
we
no.
get right up to the
Be
right up
nice.
to the last line, and then it's like, okay, we got to rush to get this in, and that really drives me crazy. Why not put it on the ballot as a non-bonding question? I mean, you're going to put it on now, and then it gives you the voice of the people of where they want this to be at. They've already spoken, whoever comes to vote. Of course, we know our votes are low too. It gives you where they want it to be, given the information that you've already gathered. Granted, that number might go up because of inflation, but then when it comes back around for the ballot again, what's that, in June?
No,
Then we
it's-
have to make the
Interest
decision.
rates aren't coming down.
No, but I mean,
Tariffs are going on steel, so I mean.
I realize
everything is
that.
going up. Every
Everything's
building-
going up. That's right.
So
So
it-
why
it
do we
could
have to
go
make
up by
that-
$1 million in a year?
Well, that's just a risk you're gonna have to take.
No, it isn't.
I mean, if I drive my car, if it's on full and I don't wanna fill it back up in a half a tank and gas goes up at 15 cents, and that's on me because I should have filled it up.
Well, it'll
I
be
mean,
on us.
I realize
when
that.
People complain.
Well,
So
you're not-
the fire department needs a new fire department. and
They
I'm
do,
not
and I'm
prepared-
not disagreeing
I'm
with that at
prepared
all.
To put it off another year.
It's not another year. You'll be ready to vote on it when do we vote again? In June?
But we're gonna get our best bond rate now.
Right.
Okay, well.
That's 10,000 a year.
I'm not willing, I'm not willing,
I'm
I'm
like
not
that
willing
other
to put
lady,
it on the
though. I mean,
ballot in
you're gonna put
November as a
Cemetery Road, then you're gonna
non-binding.
be out
I'll
altogether.
put it
You're
on
gonna
the
be
ballot
done.
as two different places. I would do that and get a vote, but I
Sorry.
wouldn't put it on the
That
ballot
was
as
just an
non-binding.
idea, but.
Yeah.
Thank you for the input, though.
I don't agree that her sample size is small. 200 and some odd people, if you ask any statisticians, mathematician, they'll tell you that's a pretty good sample size.
For 5,000, how many people voted?
Yes, that's a very good sample size
Out of 1,000, right?
because it was random people.
I wasn't there that long, 6 hours maybe?
So that's,
20%.
I think you're gonna find, if you check into it, that's a good sample size. You should give her, you should give what she knows some credence.
we
Because
do. I think putting both sites on a ballot might be the best way to go.
I wouldn't wanna have to do that financial math.
That way we're guaranteed a fire station no matter what.
Well, not necessarily,
Why?
because then people can vote no too.
On what, either site?
Yeah,
Well, we've done it 2 sites, right?
right, but you have to leave them the option of no, period,
Right.
Why?
because we have to. Because we have to.
No.
So it'll be a 3-part question. What?
Put all 3 of them on there, then you'll know. I mean,
No matter what we put on there, we have to put a no in there, so, what, so.
I think that's the only way you're gonna get a very true, defined, this is what the people want. I mean, I don't think anybody here is saying we do not need a fire department. There's a technicality of where we want it and how much money we wanna spend for it.
So, all right. I'm going to declare this public hearing closed. Thank you very much. This has been great. You know, we don't usually get turnout like this for our public hearings.
Thank you for taking the time to do this. I know you guys are all gonna get home late this week.
Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No, this is what we want. I would prefer to have crowds here every time.
Okay, good luck.
So,
What's your name, sir?
Paul Lenoir. I lived in Berwick,
yeah.
25 years old, property, 11 and 20 years. Now I've been back in here for
Yeah, you
I spoke to several people.
were up on Old Pine Hill Road, right?
Well, yeah,
I went to school with my older brothers and sisters.
yeah, I mean, as a property owner, I was there for 25 years. Before that, I was there a long time.
America at work.
I know, right?
I think that was actually really good.
No, it was. It was a good meeting.
I think the basic problem is this is the town, and this is downtown, and this is cemetery. Well, you know, there's not a lot of difference.
Glad you did it now?
And the fire trucks, that lady had a good point.
Well, what you're gonna try to figure out is bulk of the population. No, not really. I support. It needs to be rebuilt. That poor building's in bad shape.
It's gonna take a while because you're gonna have to take some private property, I guess.
Just talking to the police chief, I guess, and we was talking about changing the location.
Right away.
Right. So you gonna go with the fire department if they go up to cemetery road?
Well, no. People want to have conversations, please have them outside. We have more business to take care of.
Shove, we're leaving.
Take care. All right. Well, that was a lot of information. Oh.
Certainly was.
Yep. All right. Get back to our regular order of business is reports of committees. Is BCTV doing a presentation tonight? I don't believe so. Envision Berwick. Don't have an official presentation from Envision Berwick. I do want to mention that this last Saturday we had a kickoff meeting for the Great Falls Park, as it's called, off of Moulton Street. There were approximately 25 or 30 people there, I think. As there was some the preliminary, plans put out there. There's still a lot of work to be done on that. So we'll be bringing more of that forward in a little while. Appointments, presentations, and other guests. We have none. Unfinished business is we're going to call Mark back in here. Mr. Pendergast. Come on, you can talk to him tomorrow.
I can't wait 2 minutes, I'll talk to him. Find out where that enzyme got kicked up there.
Oh. Unfinished business, impact fees. This is for paying for the work that has been done up at the 71 Sullivan Street. Reno Construction has done some. We have 2 bills. One was $4,200 for excavating the water lines and the sewer lines and capping those off. And the other was for site preparation. This is a part of it was a continuation from the original demolition. Removed that at the time there wasn't a lot of market for the grinding the asphalt and the concrete up, and we waited till this springtime to do that, and then it was grading and spreading out the sand on the parking lot preparation. Any questions on that? Looking for a motion to pay these 2 bills.
Motion to pay the bill?
And this money will be coming out of the impact fees.
Right.
Under the recreation, under the recreation, we can use that money for planning and construction. We can use that money. So.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to pay the 2 bills.
Do?
Oh.
I motion to pay the 2 bills?
And I seconded.
She seconded it?
Right,
Okay.
right. So
I thought you were asking all over again.
No. We've been confused enough tonight. Is any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Yep. We don't have it written here, but under unfinished business, one of the things that we do need to do is, we talked about changing our meeting nights. And after talking with the other boards and their meeting nights and the staff and everything, is I would propose that we move our meetings from the first and third Tuesday to the second and fourth Tuesday.
I thought we should do every third Tuesday. Right? What's wrong with that?
Just one meeting?
Do we need more than one meeting a month?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You have a lot of business to do.
So now, when do you want to move it from?
From the first and third to the second and fourth.
Just note that that'll affect every election, most likely. Those are on the second Tuesday of November, May, June.
Well, we've moved our meeting nights before because of elections and things, so.
And I would appreciate not having it the next night. I'll put that in the record.
So,
I may have a conflict on some of the fourth Tuesdays, but I may just be running late, so just
right.
on that.
We have
to
to
go
meet
prior.
the 4th.
Mhm.
Can't move it.
September 4th.
Yeah.
No, I meant the fourth Tuesday, because if
Of
you
a
move it to the
month.
second and the fourth. Yep, no, on that, I'm fine, so just throwing that out there. So, but I won't know until I look at the schedule, so.
Ken, you have any input?
I can support any Tuesday.
Any Tuesday. And I've talked to Ed previously, and he wouldn't have a problem with that either. As, well, I'll make a motion that we, we'll start in October, is that we'll move our selectmen's meetings to the second and fourth Tuesday of the month.
First of October?
Starting in October, and starting time will still be at 6:30.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
No, thank you.
All those in favor? Thank you. Take care of that problem.
Sorry, I was looking at my calendar. Was that all four?
Yes.
Motion, Tony?
I motioned
I'll
and
motion.
Ken
I'll second
seconded
it.
it.
What do I say, yeah?
It brings us to our town manager's report.
I have a few things. Chief Plant and I met with the York County EMA Director, and we're talking about a new alert program that goes out to everybody's phones. It's called Smart 911, and they have that program in place already. If you have a landline, you automatically will be getting notified if there's emergencies or snowstorms or anything like that. Those who have cell phones and want to be part of that, you can go on to the county EMA site and log on or set up an account for yourself. This information stays with the county. The only people who have access to your data are you when you set up your password. It's a really great program. We're going to be pushing it a little bit.
What did you call it again?
It's called Smart 911, and it's managed through, we don't pay for that. It's all done through our county costs.
I got a good conversation last week with one of the county commissioners for a couple hours.
Yep.
And, they were gonna spend that 90 million on the new courthouse in Bedford. Well, it could come to a change, because, there's a lot of people in the county that feel like they can add on to what they have. There's houses beside it they can have. And for 30 million, you can add on that courthouse and give them all they want, instead of spending 90 million or 85 million.
It's expensive. I did finally hear from attorneys today on the Prime site.
What time was that?
Huh?
First, I was in here talking, but after.
Yeah,
I
right
left-
after you left, shortly after. Yeah, all the paperwork is done, and we're waiting for one of the attorneys to come back from vacation, so we will be closing sometime next week. I haven't got a specific time and date.
So does he come?
No, he does it, he'll do it electronically.
So here we are again.
Yep.
You know? I just don't know what we can use to, unless he's gonna get someone in there to just develop it, he's not gonna develop it. He's
No,
not
I
putting any money
think
into it.
he is having very serious conversations with Les Bodwell, a local builder.
I talked to Les, he doesn't have the dough. Mark wants to put up a lot of money. Let's no Rockefeller.
Well, that's between them.
I understand that, but what I'm trying to say is,
I know.
the guy's a no-show.
He doesn't have
Bothers
time
the
for
hell out
this.
of me.
So I'm hoping that once he owns it, we'll see some changes.
I know.
Route 4, just for the public, the DOT, people from DOT came down at our request to talk about the Route 4 accident and how we can improve that. They spent 3.5 hours here with us. It was a long conversation. They presented a lot of statistics, and most of the issues with the fatalities we've had there is mostly all human error. They don't feel it's the road, but we're going to work on putting in turning lanes in specific areas. They have to do borings to make sure the shoulder work can support the.
We just went over this on the fire department turned down Cemetery Road. It's the same type of problem they have. I talked to them after you guys got done. I happened to catch them by my office, the 2 engineers in the blue state van. They're not even gonna rumble strip the road.
Yeah, they are. They said they were going to.
Yeah, next year when they get the money.
Well, I hadn't heard that. They
Well, I heard
they said it was
well,
going to be
I
this
stood
year.
there and I was quite upset about it. And I said, why can't you guys, when you run the white strips, north, headed towards South Berwick, bring that white strip into the break, well, it needs to be test board. I said, they've been running over this goddamn thing for how many years? Those stripes should be brought over.
Yep.
I don't care what they say. I stood out there with those 2 clowns and asked them, I mean, it's brutal to deal with them. They're like patsies. When you ever told me that after you get done with you guys? I said, well, we don't have enough money and, well, we might get something done, but it sounded like, there's no money for anything.
Well, it's what I took away from that meeting, when I sat in on that meeting, Steve's talking about, and when he specifically asked about the rumble strips, and they said that they were hoping to get it done before winter time, is what they had told us.
I saw them later on, because they were by my office parked, observing the road. I even got out on the road and showed them where the white strip would go. It's like they're drawing a blank of what I'm talking about.
So.
And then we talked about using the big cones coming down the corner over the good weather.
Right.
But I mean, you know what? I come into Sanford from Route 4 every morning, from Alfred, every morning. The minute I hit that Masonic Hall, you better be at 30 miles an hour, or you'll get, you know what that's like? You're getting pulled over. That 30 miles an hour ends all the way up across the tracks, and it goes up again. North Berwick is brutal there. I don't know, pretty disappointed in what they had to say to me.
Yeah, we weren't really happy. No, they pulled out all the statistics, and the accident rate on the section in Berwick is lower than the state average. However, the severity of the accidents is higher than the state average.
Okay, so
And that's
what's that?
because
Because
because of the
people aren't paying
speed.
attention is
It's-
what they're
well, and also because of the speed. And,
They said they can't slow the speed down, because
Well-
people will pass, and is what they told me,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. As we went around and around with this, and we did have a outline of what they were looking at and to get back to us, so
They
is.
got back to us the next 2 days with an outline of minutes of our meeting and what they were going to try and do. So I'll follow up on that, Mark.
I just hope my friend gets governor.
I know.
Tell ya.
Paving, the paving should be done by next week. They finished Diamond Hill, they did a real nice job. They have Pond Road and Beach Ridge to do, and that's all we can afford to do this year. So we'll be looking at a new capital schedule for roads come September or October, when I have a chance to finish it, and I'll be putting it in for the budget this coming year. And I just want to thank the public for their patience with customer service. It's been a really long week and a half with Trio Software, which is our main software that we use for just about everything. Hopefully we'll have it solved they will have it solved, because we aren't going to solve it in the next few days. So,
been long haul. And that's all I have.
All right, and Selectmen's communication. I was asked to bring this up, is they're doing a fundraiser and a silent auction for Rollinsford Police Officer Sean DePascal. I probably butchered that, but Sean is a 26-year-old Rollinsford police officer who was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. He's doing his treatments through Wentworth Douglas, and he's been trying to continue with his work, but they're doing a fundraiser on Friday, August 24th, this Friday, at 6 to 11 p.m. at the Dover's Elk Lodge, 184 on 282 Durham Road in Dover, New Hampshire. Is I looked into it a little bit. Is a young man who had his whole life planned out in front of him. He went through the police academy, and to find out that he has this cancer has been a real huge setback. So I'm sure that there will be other information on the internet that you can look up.
Ron Long is collecting money also.
Yeah, that's who asked me to do
Yeah.
this. So, so that's that Friday, August 24th, 6 to 11 p.m. at the Dover's Elk Lodge in Dover, New Hampshire. I think that's all I had for communications. That brings us to accounts payable. Account payable warrant 1906 from August 9th, 2018 for $417,469.81. Water warrant 0906 from August 9th, 2018 for the amount of $42,457.80. Water warrant 0907 from August 16th, 2018 for the amount of $7,229.04. Account payable warrant 1907 for the amount of, that's for August 16th, is for the amount of $93,609.33. Payroll warrant 1907 from August 16th for the amount of $61,174.15. And payroll warrant 1908 for August 23rd, 2018 for the amount of $52,383.51. I'll make the motion that we pay our bills.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. That brings us to new business, setting the tax rate and accept the tax commitment.
Paul, you've been very patient.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I think, can we do that supplement first, probably? Want to do that one?
Yeah,
Or you wanna do that
if we want,
after?
as Paul asked if we could do the supplement first.
Where is that now?
It's under
15.
tab 15. That I have nothing in.
I don't have one.
Tab 15.
Do you have it?
I didn't make the booklets this week.
What's it look like?
I don't have it.
No.
Oh, none of us have one?
You
Nope.
have it in the to be signed.
Oh, to be signed one, yep.
Okay, a little bit of background. Every year, the Central Maine Power sends us a declaration of their values, their power lines, distribution, underground, above ground, substations, and that as their, what they claim every year. We normally use that value. Last year, they sent us a declaration totaling $12,415,297. When it was put into the CAMA database, the assessing software, the value ended up, because of some overrides of depreciation, I'm not sure what happened, but it was down to $7,342,336, which a difference of $5,000,000
That's including the 2 new buildings they built in Berwick?
for last year. This was supposed to be put in place for last year. So this year's they've already submitted, which was a little bit greater than the 12 million. So we undertaxed them basically last year. I did call Central Maine, spoke to the gentleman up there in charge, so he's you know, he's in agreement. I mean, he realizes what happened. So, what I recommend is we supplement them for the $5,072,961, equaling an amount of tax of $87,001.28.
That's what they pay us.
That's what they, yeah. That was a supplement for last year. This year's declaration is approximately this, a little bit more than that, but about 13 million.
How could, 13 million? Jeez. I think it'd be that high.
Any questions of Paul?
No.
We have a motion to accept.
Yeah, make a motion to accept,
Paul's
Paul's
recommendation.
recommendation for the, CMP. Should I sign this while I got it?
Well, let's have a vote first. We have a second.
Second.
We have a vote and a second. Is, all those in favor? Thank you.
All right. Okay, setting of the tax rate. The first sheet that
You gotta
I guess I
sign
want to
three
go
times
over is this comparison with last year. So if you want to look at the changes in the far right-hand column, the local taxable real estate value in change was 2.74%. Total personal property was 1.44% increase. The total taxable valuation, 2.70. The homestead exemption value is increased by 0.57%. Homestead reimbursement value, the real estate value of that was 25.72%. So that was because they've increased the reimbursement to the town from 50 to 62.5%. The Betty exemption decreased by 0.23%, and the Betty reimbursement decreased by 0.23%. So the total valuation base increased by 3.19%, equaling $20,637,051 was the increase in value for this year. Appropriations, the county tax decreased by 8.9%. Municipal appropriation decreased by 1.07%. The TIF amount was approximately the same. The school appropriations increased by 5.57%. The total appropriations increased by 2.22%. State revenue sharing increased by 2.56%. The state, no, I'm on the wrong. Other revenues decreased by 13.74%, and the total deductions decreased by 11.36%. So the property tax rate that I'm recommending at $17.60 would give us an overlay of $103,739 on a $250,000 home. The taxes would be $4,400, which is a 2.62% increase over last year. The next sheet would be the overlay relationship. So it's, again, I'm recommending the overlay of the tax rate of $17.60 with an overlay of $103,739. The other going from $17.50 to $17.70 are the other choices that we have. The other spreadsheets, the multiple year comparison, they're basically the same. I just went back a few more years to show you what the changes in the appropriations and the valuation has been. I'd be happy to answer any questions you would on those. So I guess I'm looking for a motion to accept the tax rate of $17.60.
Make that motion, Thomas?
I'm still looking here. So just so, people understand a little bit more about where the increases are coming from, on our sheets here, under appropriations, is the municipal appropriation is a negative 1.07%.
Correct.
And the school and education appropriations is an increase of 5.57%. So that so, it shows that all of our increase basically is through the school systems. And hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to get our revenue sharing back up to where it's supposed to be and school funding up to where it's supposed to be. So, any further discussions, questions, Paul?
Can you explain to me this, the marijuana storefront districts thing? Just go through it so we can give. Do you mind me asking him that question? Does he understand it?
Is it
I
part?
don't know what's the question.
Yeah, what are you looking at?
The municipal, this thing here.
Oh, that's not what we're working on.
I know that.
Yeah,
Well, he's not planning board.
No, but you hear from it when you go to evaluate do you go and put an evaluation on the facilities?
Yeah, we would assess the building just as a normal building, whether it's a, prefabricated warehouse or whatever it is. And then we would ask them for a declaration and inspect their personal property, the lighting, the heating, the humidity, whatever personal equipment they have in there. The assessors organization, I'm going to a meeting next month, and there's a lot of discussion that's coming up about this as far as what the value of that personal property equipment is. So, we can go in and take a look at that. But the building is just a regular building. It would be just like a regular warehouse probably in most
Make out with
cases.
the garage turned warehouse.
How did I make out?
No, that got approved.
They did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the appeals board. They granted his appeal.
I haven't run into any yet for this year. I mean, next year probably we will, I'll be running into some of those.
Yep.
Kittery is pretty much, I'm also in Kittery, and they outlawed them over there, so there's
Right,
nothing.
they did, yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing in Kittery.
No.
And there's
What-
nothing, the other town I'm in Maine is Agunquit, and there was nothing in Agunquit.
Well, it's in York.
What, yeah, York's got it.
York's got it.
Yep.
Northborough's got it.
Northborough, yeah. So, I mean, we can work pretty close with those assessors in getting estimates of value of that equipment.
Yep.
Tom, I do have a question for Paul. I got two stacks of paper here. One says assessor certification of assessment.
Yep.
And you've got what looks like a worksheet in here for total valuation basis says 3.22%. But you have farther back in your calculations, you've got this sheet that shows 3.19%, which is what you presented us. So I'm questioning the two.
Yeah, I don't have those other ones. I think those were put in your packet, but I don't believe I got a copy of them. Maureen put those in there, I believe. You- It's the actual warrant, right? What page were you on?
If you go the third page back, where you've got your breakdown,
Yeah.
your total valuation base in there doesn't match the total evaluation based on your calculation forms. Bottom line comes out the same, and I'm not quite sure how, but
Yeah, I think there was a last minute change, and I bet this spreadsheet here did not get updated. So it should be the one that I read you.
with the spreadsheet,
Yeah, yeah,
3.19%.
yeah. Trying to see where the difference is here.
Taxable real estate?
The numbers are all right, though.
Well, is,
the taxable real estate is
The,
different.
the taxable real
Yeah,
estate
yeah, that's off.
changed.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a last minute change that we put in, and I redid all the spreadsheets. I must have missed that one.
So the figure is a 3.19%?
3.19, yes. Taxes on a $250,000 assessment. Last year was $4,288, At the proposed rate, it was $4,400, which was a 2.62% increase.
See that?
$4,400.
Any more questions? We have a motion? Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the tax rate at 17.60.
I'll second it.
That's a 45-cent increase to the tax rate.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.
And this one we have to sign 4 times. Make sure we really mean it.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that brings us to the proposed fire station location, police department renovations. We had a lot of discussion about this. It's been proposed that we put a three-part question on the warrant. Is
Two-part.
well, 3-part, because we have to do no.
No.
Yes. So it's the cemetery site, the Estabrook site, and no is you heard what the people here have said.
Haven't we talked about, didn't they already voice here? Yeah, we haven't. We haven't talked to enough people, I bet, to figure out what they want for a site. Don't you feel that way? That people are undecided?
What we learned at the election, that a lot of the people, out of the 1,000 that showed up to vote, a lot of them hadn't been following this, which is not uncommon. People have busy lives, and unless they read, or watch TV, or see it on the websites, they just don't know. I think let's hope that they all would know after we send out all those flyers, which I'm kind of upset about.
Yeah, we'll have to find out about that.
But that's, you're gonna have to make a decision.
I heard your numbers, and I saw them. It was before I got on the board, but I did take the time to fill out the survey. I was also here for the presentation by Port City prior to that survey coming out, and I thought, not to skew the numbers at all, but the way the survey was presented, it had the cemetery road with a cost on it, and the Estabrook School with no cost. So that survey basically came out without any figures on it,
Right.
without anybody knowing that Cemetery Road is going to be, actually, based on these numbers, Cemetery Road is cheaper by 100,000 on the estimate. So
That's a good point.
I am a little concerned that if we just go with Estabrook, because that's what everybody said off the survey, they didn't have all the facts.
And they had in that survey, they also had another element in there because they had the Pine Hill, which was also at a cost as well.
Right.
So I mean, they were weighing,
Seems odd.
and I agree with what the town manager's saying, Steve. They weren't, everybody there, I had to educate every single person because nobody, what fire station, what are you talking about? It's like, and that aggravates me to no end. I know it must,
I just
really.
got a text from a guy in town. I vote for the fire department at Estabrook. It's next to me.
They're
But yeah,
watching.
I mean, and most of the time when I was talking and educating, because we did have, I did get James Bellissimo to give me maps because I like to shoot it straight. I like to give it the facts. I don't like hearsay. I don't like gossip. That's just not the way I roll. and I wanted them to say, here's where the parcel is, this is where you get to it. I even had to describe where the Pine Hill, of course that one's out of the spot now. But you know, I mean, it was amazing to me. I left here with a sore throat after 6 hours of saying the same thing over and over and over and over. And I'm sure everybody upstairs heard me because it was the same spill over and over and over. You know, but you were right. Everybody's concern was, how much is it going to cost to get that water up there? We don't know. There's no set numbers here. How can they give a true educated, not a guess, but a educated thought to, all right, this is in stone, this is what it's going to cost us? That was just a very vague, and it was something that, from my understanding, put there by the Board of Selectmen just to get a feel for where the public was. Where did you want to see this? Because one's coming, regardless. And you know, it was very shocking to me when people just said, oh, it's the fire department, they know what's good for them, they can pick their own site and do. I'm like, wait a minute, it's coming. Yeah, it may be their department, it may be their fire station, but it's on your dime. So you need to get, you know, educated, get the numbers, you know. So how do we get those numbers out there to these people now that you have really solid numbers? Paper, maybe you could go to the Sentinel. Everybody gets it. Yeah, it's going to cost. I mean, are we going to be griping because, all right, to get the information out there in home, you know, are we going to have to do another postcard and say, hey, this is on the ballot, you know, this is what it's going to cost, you know? I mean, everything we do to get education out to people is going to cost money. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. Either you're going to come to the meeting, you're going to go online, you're going to watch it on TV, or you're going to be uneducated. And if you decide to be uneducated, it's going to come in your back pocket, whether you like it or not. That's just the bottom line. I mean, I hate to say black and white, but you guys are doing the best you can with the numbers that you have. And if people don't want to become educated on it, then it's just not going to happen, you know? Sorry to get on my soapbox, but.
No, I think you brought up a good point, though. They didn't have the
Good
numbers.
to see you
when
back
they
out in
did voting.
public.
So
I
that's,
understand it's driving me nuts. I got a headache from.
So it still leaves us with, we need to make a decision tonight about what we're doing.
Right, on the fire department?
Well, as far as bringing it forward is.
That's we're all forward, but I would like to discuss an executive session. The fire department,
With who? Say that again?
executive session.
You can't.
Yeah,
No, it has to be
That can't be
discussed.
done?
no,
Can't, it's gotta be public.
yeah. Is, you know, I don't know the logistics of putting the multi-part question out there, but.
Well, first thing you have to do is you have to draw up the warrant article so public understands that you're gonna be asking to bond $6 million roughly. That's what, even though it's 5.8 or 5.9, you're gonna ask for 6 million. That would be my recommendation, and I'm sure Maureen would agree. So that's your budget to start with. But the public has to approve you to build the station and bond the money to do it.
Right.
Period. That's one question. It's getting complicated when you have to ask which one site you want. I'm not sure how I would word that, and then you have to count it. You know, I'm gonna have to sit down and talk to the town clerk and some other people on what that would look like. But I have until September 4th, but it really is, I only really have until the end of next week.
Right.
Because I've got to get it all done and out to the attorneys and yada, 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 but,
I don't think we
the
should put it
cost
off.
at this point is pretty, they're
Right.
even pretty much. You know,
Right.
$100,000 when you're talking a $6 million project.
Right. That's how I look at it.
So now it really comes down to what is the best site for this fire station. And the public, and we knew this going in, I think, that everybody wanted to see it at Estabrook.
Right. Yeah, we did. We did.
We talked about that. We've been doing it for over a year.
Yep.
So,
I mean, that's
but
really what.
Also, but you have a fire department, we have professionals who are asking you to put it at a place where it's going to serve the town the best. But is that gonna pass? Again, these are questions we talked about. Is that gonna pass at the ballot box.
Right, and I think that's the concern.
Because I know there's people, as you heard tonight, have very strong opinions.
I have a very lot of people that have very strong opinions, and that's what I'm worried about. We won't get a
And
fire
I want to
station.
make sure,
Mhm.
from my perspective, that this fire department gets a new station.
That's the most important.
It's just,
So,
it's important.
but that's a decision you have to make.
I think, as Dennis has presented everything, it makes sense. You can kind of get a feel for both ways, but it's what does the town want? Where do they see it, and how are they going to vote? Are they going to approve it on Cemetery Road? And I think the biggest concern is if we isolate it to just the bond being there, we could run the risk of not getting anything. And that's, I think, where we're all in agreement. So can we make the proposal for you to look to see, to put the language, to give, I know you don't want to do it.
No, it's not a matter of wanting, I'm just not sure how I'm going to be able
I know.
I will look
We may
at
have
it,
to, yeah.
but you
Have
still
other
have to make
towns
it-
been in
do
this
you think?
situation?
What do you think the majority of people in town want? What do you think? Sir, keep forgetting your name, but Kevin?
Ken.
He missed a few meetings.
He's missed a few, I know.
So,
I don't know what the town wants. Listening to the fire chief, I know what he's looking for. I know based on his statistics,
Yeah.
he's saying this makes more sense out on Cemetery Road.
Yeah.
Now, this is the first night we've actually seen the numbers,
Right.
and,
We knew the numbers. The numbers haven't changed per square foot. They might
per
have gone
square
up
foot,
20,
but in
30
terms
cents.
of comparing the Estabrook site to
Correct,
the
yeah.
cemetery site,
I agree with that,
that's,
yeah.
this is the first time I've actually seen hard
Us too,
numbers
us too.
that said, hey,
relative.
Cemetery Road is actually cheaper. You're not mitigating wetlands. You've got better access. So, for me, Cemetery Road makes more sense. Now, I live just down the road, so it's farther for me, for the fire department, but not that far.
And I'm on Hubbard Road, which would be impacted. But again, it's listening to what he's saying and putting, that's why we have him in the position he's in. And they've shared the information. We saw numbers tell a story. And the numbers say it makes sense on Cemetery Road.
Yeah, I mean, even
The numbers say
with,
what?
The numbers went as presented with the number of calls and where they're receiving for the demographics, it makes sense to put it on Cemetery Road and not Estabrook. And I was all for Estabrook initially because I thought that, having the presence in town, but the more time has gone on, it just seems that it would benefit the town better. Just as presented, that's all, so.
I think long-term for the town, it's probably better out there because your growth is out there more so than downtown. You're not gonna get, we're getting prime, but we're not getting a lot of growth. It would also open up Estabrook as a viable option to, possibly sell it off, sell portions of it off to be able to gain some money for that.
Right, I agree.
I really think that, I agree, from what the presentation by the Sam Tibbetts and the fire department is, it belongs somewhere out on Pine Hill, actually, is what they said, but that's not an option. But I just know that if we put it out there with just a single thing, it's gonna get voted down.
I mean, a single thing.
Well, if we just go say it's
The
gonna be
decision.
at Cemetery Road, is.
I don't think it's gonna pass on Cemetery Road.
Right, that's
I think
it.
it's gonna pass over here,
Yeah.
is my personal opinion.
And that's what we need to find out.
The November election is a general election for the state. There's a race for governor, reps to Congress, so on and so forth. You're gonna get a lot more voters than if you push this off to May or June at town election.
Oh, yeah,
where you'll
yeah,
get 200 voters
Right.
compared to
Right.
hopefully over 1,000.
So we have to decide, and then we gotta push one way or another to get this done.
I think we have to propose it and put it on the ballot with both options, or all three. And I think that's the only way we can go at this point. And let, everybody make the decision so that they have a voice. I just hope that they
Well, I
understand
may
and have
to
the
call a
facts.
special meeting before then.
Mhm.
I'll have to talk to legal tomorrow, and figure out how we're gonna word it. I'm not worried about the money part of it, wording that's
Right.
easy.
Yeah.
Except that there's different components at both sites. So the money will be going to different things at both sites.
Yeah, pretty,
Yeah,
the building's
all you're
always-
doing is asking for a $6 million bond.
Right, and how it's
That's what you're-
allocated.
That's what you're asking the voters
Right,
to
right.
approve
The actual construction costs will be broken down when we get the final.
when we finally do
You're
the final
securing the
plans.
Yeah. So, I think we're gonna have to, look at putting both options on the ballot. That's the only way we're gonna, get this to move forward. So,
Mhm.
and, and it'll be incumbent on, the different factions to, educate people about their site.
Right, exactly.
Is,
I don't think we can rely on that. I think we have to educate the people about the sites.
Well, if they
These-
see
these
the
numbers
bonds
can
either
bu- We
way.
can put up numbers on the wall in the thing there or something and hang up one of these and.
Yep.
But when we originally talked about, I'm just a big believer in complexes. That's why South Berwick fought so hard to keep it over there where the fire station was, to no avail. But I'm a big believer it should be a one-set complex, they use together, and I think when they use it together, they're gonna have more, there's not gonna be
it'll be more camaraderie.
more camaraderie.
Right.
And then, with the old building gone, there's still a lot of land there, but, I don't know, it's like, you wanna do what everyone wants to do, but yet, I just, right now, everything I'm hearing, and everything I'm seeing from people is, you know what, they want it over there. That's what I see the advance vote being, as people have contacted me. So,
Okay. I'll
Get to work.
Yeah.
try to draft something,
Yeah.
but we may be back here next Tuesday.
whatever,
And this may have to be put off till May if we can't get, if legal says it's not feasible to do.
I'll know by tomorrow.
we'll cross that bridge and just let us know.
Right,
I'll
and
know by
we'll,
Then
tomorrow
we'll have to figure it out.
if I can get them to return my phone calls.
Fishing must be good.
I'll have a response by tomorrow for
okay.
everybody.
So are you voting tonight to put both options on the ballot if okayed by legal?
Yes, I would think we would do that.
That's
Why
the
don't you
Brook
make a
Cemetery
motion to
Road.
do that?
I'll make a motion to put,
Both
put both on the ballot, as long as it's legal's okay with it.
And I'll
Fine.
second.
I would, 2 ways, right? 3 ways.
3. We gotta
have to-
remember no.
You have to have no.
You have to have no.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All right. We'll see what happens there.
Wish you could think of another way.
I know.
Well, one of us can win the Powerball or something. How's that?
I don't think that's high enough right now.
What are you saying, Steve?
You'll be fine. We'll
Yep.
come up with something.
All right, second public comment. Any further comments? You sure, Tammy? Come on. We have no executive session. Anybody else have any other business or non-agenda items? Leaves us with one.
What are we doing with the four-wheeler? Is that going back out to bid?
I have to hire a mechanic to look at it first. That's what we decided. And I interviewed one person last week, and I've got 2 more applicants I'd like to speak to.
Jeremy gone yet?
Huh?
Jeremy's gone, right?
Jeremy's gone, yeah.
Yeah. Jeremiah.
That one too.
What do we call him?
You said Jeremiah.
Jeremiah.
So,
Big loss. Anyway, I've got some good applicants for that position.
Oh, really?
Yep, and,
None that work for me, huh?
no, none of them were.
That's too bad. I'd give him high praise.
So I should have something by next week. I'll hopefully be able to make an offer to somebody. See if I can get them,
He'd be a full-time mechanic with a Class B.
with a Class B license, yeah. So they'll be plowing and also doing labor work. We don't know about our finance director yet.
She told me today hanging around for a while, you told me.
Yeah, well, that changed this afternoon.
Again, huh?
She's got two offers on her house.
Oh.
Oh. Who are they? I'll call them and tell them it's no good. No.
My
How
opinion.
can you live like that?
It's, hey, married, no children. You can do it, you know.
What'd you say?
She's married with no children, so it makes it easier. You can
No, I'm just like, I wish you'd stay, and then